Let's see. The Son of God, who cannot die, came as the Son of Man to die and be killed for all the sins of humanity. As Hebrews said, he served as the president of Melchizedek forever, not as Aaron's genealogy. Jesus Christ has completed all the laws and rituals of the Old Testament. This led me to be told that God is correct and that those who believe in it are right. Now we've moved from a sinner's seat to a righteous one. God is holy to see us. He's talking. Now we are the bride of Christ. God is happy when he sees us as priests. John Owen explains what it means to love quietly, as to be satisfied with your object of love and not to find a more satisfying object of love. In addition, he adds, God is happy with those who hold on to him. There is quite a rest and joy in God's love, and he wants us to do good. After realizing this truth, Paul decided to regard every merit he had as excrement, abandon much of his knowledge, and only show off the cross. In the past, abandoned people had to live in sin and be disconnected from God, so they always lived in guilt, fear, and concern. What should I eat? Do you want to drink? I was living under the power of Satan, worried about wearing it, concerned because I didn't know what was going on tomorrow, afraid because I didn't know more about the world after I died. Therefore, humans have lived a self-centered life rather than good things, God's righteousness and glory. But God's Father gives us his Son, restores his severed relationship with God, makes him a child, and gives us God's infinite wealth and wisdom. God's will and power, glory and knowledge, Christ. The believers admire Christ's excellence and beauty, John chapter 1 verse 14, and have a strong passion for Christ, the best good that cannot be compared to anything else. This intense passion makes us think more about Christ's upbringing, glory and truth and rejoices in finding ourselves in it. God gave us your will and ability. The Holy Spirit, Parakletos, meaning, a person who helps by his side, in us proves this. I received the inchoate of the Holy Spirit, Ephesians chapter 1 verse 13. Now the concept of sin changes. Now for the saved saints, sin is hurting the love of Christ, not breaking the law. Pulling the noble love of the Lord, who loved himself and gave up his body, means sinning. John Owen said so. So let us greet Christ as he gives us, in all his excellence and glory. Let's often think of him with faith and compare him with other lovely things such as sin and the world and the righteousness of the law. Then you will like Christ more than all that, and you will realize that everything else is a waste compared to Christ. Before then, I couldn't live only thinking about what was visible after being swept away by persecution, abundance, and poverty. Still, God gave us the will and power, and now I have the boldness to do everything in his pouring power, love, and will. Sometimes we can endure with faith in God, who will do everything together for good because we know God's will and power even if trouble and persecution come because we live in an unstable world. We must trust God's wisdom without hesitation, even when God leaves us in the dark. It's also possible. These things cannot be used against us other than God's will and ability. For this reason, there are 3 recent trends in the church that I, as a writer, look at with mixed views. One is Norman Vincent Philly's aggressive way of thinking, Robert Schler's The Impossible. Then, the belief of Joel Austin's The Law of Positivity becomes the Pygmalion effect of psychology, which lives without wind. Another is excessive spirituality, which emphasizes the Sermon on the Mountain rather than the cross. The last is internal healing. God looks at humans from an unbreakable perspective and forces them to cry and rage.